You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Jamaia Chase. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. With a 19.4% poverty rate, Memphis is one of the poorest metro areas in the U.S., and a large portion of our population is flirting with homelessness. Being homeless can happen to anyone, but it's the resources offered that can determine whether a person or a family rises above the poverty line. With us today for our first segment is Dennis Rutledge, Assistant Director of Calvary Rescue Mission, and Sydney Dennis, Volunteer Coordinator at Dorothy Day House. Mr. Rutledge and Ms. Dennis, thank you both for being on the show with us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Rutledge, can you tell us the mission behind Calvary Rescue Mission and how many people you serve?
At Calvary Rescue Mission, we're built around restoring lives. Many of the men who come to Calvary are just like me. They've just fallen on hard times. Something has happened in their life that they're unable to get back on their feet on their own. We like to say we're a hand up, not a hand out. Because we're there to help restore their lives, give them hope again, and help them become productive citizens again. Right now, we're averaging about 86 guys a night, and we can house up to 110.
Well, how did the mission start?
Well, we started in 1967 when Milton Hatcher was saved. He was a barber who was an alcoholic, and when he got saved, he told his wife that he knew God had some kind of plan for him. He just didn't know what it was, and he was going to go into his shed and pray until God told him what he wanted him to do. And 2.5 days later, he came out and he told his wife, we're going to open a rescue shelter so that I can help people like me, people who are alcoholics who want to get off alcohol. And he opened his first shelter on North Jackson, right next to a bar, which would seem like a crazy place to be because it would be so tempting being right next door. But he bought a sound system and he put the speakers against the wall facing the bar so that as he spoke the message each night, it was going into the bar, and there were a lot of men came out of the bar to come over and join them in worship at the chapel service.
Well, Ms. Dennis, Dorothy Day House is a great resource for families who are struggling. How is your organization different from a typical shelter?
Yeah, the way that we are different is we are able to serve families and keep them together. So our whole tagline is keeping families together because in a lot of typical shelter situations, they have to be split up. So we want to be able to keep moms, dads, and kids together, whatever the family looks like. So yeah, that's what makes us different.
Well, who was Dorothy Day and how are you continuing her mission?
Yeah, Dorothy Day was an activist, a writer, journalist. She lived through the Great Depression, and during that time, she opened her own house of hospitality. She just saw all of the people in New York City who were standing in line for soup kitchens, and she wanted to do something. So that house looked different than what ours does today. That was really just a place for people to come and live, and they moved in, and they pretty much just stayed. They all took care of each other, but a lot of people all across the U.S. and even abroad have taken what she has done and looked at that and how that can help their own city. So here in Memphis, we looked at when they opened our original house, they looked at what was needed in Memphis, and the goal was to keep families together, and so that's why our house does that.
Mr. Rutledge, at Calvary Rescue, you have many different resources that you provide the men with, such as chapels or counseling. Can you talk about the change that you see in men after they go through your services?
One of the neat things about Calvary, or one of the things that I love about Calvary, is that every single night there's a chapel service. It doesn't matter whether it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, or Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to have chapel service. That comes first. We're there to provide the men clothing, a safe place to be, food, but the most important thing for us is for them to go through the chapel service each night. So they are required to attend. Then they have a safe place to sleep that night. We also provide a Celebrate Recovery class for the men to go through, men who are dealing with addictions, for them to go through the Celebrate Recovery class. We have a discipleship class. We have health fairs that we do for the guys where we get the different health centers to come in, especially Shelby County Health Department, to do physicals. They do immunizations. Next week we've got immunizations for the men for hepatitis A. Hepatitis A is very widespread right now. But we have job fairs there to help them get jobs and just everything that we can do to get them back on their feet.
Well, how do the men find out about your organization? Are they referred to you?
Some of them are referred to us through different organizations. We have people who come by and get vouchers. They see people on the street who are homeless and they can get a voucher. We'd much rather them get a voucher to give to someone so that they will come to the shelter and stay, rather than give them $5 to stay and they spend the $5 somewhere else. We're finding that so many people, if you give them the $5, it's too much temptation for them to hold on to. They find out about Calvary through word of mouth. In the homeless community, they tell each other where's a good place to stay. Their first night at Calvary, their first 3 nights at Calvary are free, so we don't charge anything for that. From that time forward, it's $5 a night. Now the $5 doesn't come anywhere close to covering what their care is, because it costs us about $27 a day to care for them. But that $5 gives them ownership into their space, and it helps teach them responsibility and teaches them how to budget their money, and you know, I've got to have money in order to stay there.
Ms. Dennis, how does families find out about Dorothy Day House?
Yeah, we get referrals from local agencies, whether that's a school counselor, a nurse, another organization that sees that we could help a family, but also people just Google us and call us on a regular basis to see if we have space.
Well, Ms. Dennis, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of comfort needed for the families in Dorothy Day House. What is your key to uplifting the families in hard times?
Yeah, we have people who come in and who are able to provide childcare for kids so that parents can go on appointments and run errands without having to tote kids around with them. And every Sunday we have a Sunday meal that happens where volunteers come in and they really get to sit with the families and just talk and get to know them. We have a short little prayer service that happens during that. But those are really just fellowship opportunities for people to come in and get to know families. We don't want people standing behind a table serving. We want them really like getting to know the families, and we all sit at a table and we all eat together.
Well, Ms. Dennis and Mr. Rutledge, it was a pleasure having you both on the show today. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
When we come back, we'll hear firsthand how one organization's baked goods help families affected by homelessness.
And it's very fun to be in band, trust me. It's so much fun.
When I was an 8th grader and I saw them march and I was like, wow, I need to be a part of this.
Our main performing group is the varsity band. That encompasses our marching band and our varsity concert band. We also have the jazz ensemble.
It's unique, so we're really lucky to have that.
I'm very methodical about teaching. I try to stay up to date because I want my students to have the best information that I can pass along to them.
He's excellent. He commands a sort of drive that we didn't exactly have.
I lead the class, but I also believe in the students self-assessing their work.
The leadership is led by the students. We lead most of the practices. It's basically just student-led.
And I think that's important for them to take that kind of ownership.
If you want to be a musician, you gain extremely important music skills, music techniques.
1, 2, 3.
There's so many opportunities for fellowship, and band is a family. and you develop that small community where you support each other, not only musically, but in many ways.
Really, without the band, the football games would be lame. Without the band, you wouldn't really have the pep rallies. The band is like a good foundation for the school spirit. If you want to join band, just do it.
I think band was the best part of my high school career.
GHS-TV started in 1982, and it was just a couple of cameras, a couple of on-air personality, and it's really grown into what you see today. It's a multi-million-dollar studio with top-of-the-line technology.
Being able to operate, all of the machinery in the control room, being able to use all of our software and hardware that we have around the studio is a great skill because this is top-of-the-line equipment.
I feel like this class has brightened my horizon. It's something that I never thought I would be doing, especially as a student.
GHS-TV is probably one of the most hands-on experiences a student will ever get in their lifetime.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Nothing really has just the vibe that we have here.
Especially after you finish, you get a real rush of, wow, I just did that.
By the time a student graduates from Germantown High School, they will know pretty much every position there is, from producing to directing to on-air work.
You learn time management, you learn organization, you learn how to work with people, how to better communicate with people.
We put a lot on them, and they have to be able to have the responsibility and the knowledge to get everything that we ask them.
I had very little experience, so in the past 3 years, the skills that I've learned have absolutely exponentially grown.
The class has actually helped me figure out that I want to go to college for journalism.
When a student graduates, they are the best possible version of themselves that they can be.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Trying to find a job while homeless is very tough, especially when you have more than one mouth to feed. With just a few baked goods and kind intentions, families who have fallen victim to homelessness can begin new lives. With us now is Tracy Burgess, the co-founder of Lucy J's Bakery. Ms. Burgess, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me.
At Lucy J Bakery, you have a very lofty mission for helping those who are in need. Can you walk us through some of the main points?
Our mission at the bakery is to provide job training, if needed, and also living wage employment opportunities for parents who are transitioning out of homelessness. And it may sound lofty, but it's necessary. When people say to do the right thing, even if you're doing it alone, that's how we started, and what we wanted to do was to make sure that our parents at the Dorothy Day House, which is another part of this discussion, had quick employment opportunities to help them start over.
Well, Lucy J's has been around for a while. Has the mission always been to help the homeless, or did it evolve over the years?
It has definitely evolved over the years. We started baking, and I say we, my husband and I started baking out of our house probably 7 or 8 years ago. And we really thought that we were going to create a bakery or a restaurant environment, and that's what the two of us were going to do. But God definitely had a different plan in mind for us. And it was about in 2012, 7 years ago, that we started volunteering at the Dorothy Day House. And our involvement there taught us that so many times parents simply need a better paying job to start over. And so the idea of the bakery became closer and closer to our hearts, and the mission grew into how it could partner with the house and help parents there.
Ms. Burgess, how is this cause beneficial to Lucy J's, Dorothy Day House, and the community?
Well, I think above all else, it provides a space where the public subconsciously knows that there are homeless parents working. We go into Walgreens, we go to Chick-fil-A, we go to any restaurant, and that person across the counter from us is simply another person. Where at the bakery, the public knows that our mission is to employ parents from the Dorothy Day House and employ parents who are actively trying to start over. So it gives people this knowledge. It brings an awareness to the public that homeless families could be anybody, and that they're really working and trying to do what's best for themselves and their kids.
Can you talk about the many different job opportunities that you offer at Lucy J's?
So we have 3 main positions. Most of our parents fill the front of the house positions. They're cashiers and greeters. They help the guests. They serve the guests on a daily basis. We also have cake decorators. A few of our parents from the house have been cake decorators in the past. And so they're making all the specialty birthday cakes. They're decorating the cupcakes every day. They're making cake pops. And then the third position are bakers. And we've had one parent within the last year who was a baker. He knew that his strong suit was not being out with the guests, but he really wanted to work, and he wanted to earn the wages that are available at the bakery, and so he learned how to be a baker.
Are you looking to expand job opportunities at Lucy J's?
I think I would love to. I think that's always on the horizon. It's not in the immediate future. But if you looked really far out in the horizon, you would see our dreams for having a warehouse kitchen, for having multiple shops, for having many job opportunities, and branching out beyond even the Dorothy Day House to other organizations who need hiring assistance.
Ms. Burgess, what are some of the rewards as well as the challenges you face in this organization?
I think the rewards are, for Josh and I personally, just getting to be involved with our families. We become friends with our families at the Dorothy Day House. Our kids become friends with the kids at the Dorothy Day House. And so that's always a reward, to see them moving forward in the goals that they've set for themselves. And the challenges come from operating a small business. If you speak to any entrepreneur, they probably learned really quickly, like we did, that you can't be everything. And so that challenge, the main challenge that we faced within the last year, is allowing other people to help us. Allowing other people to take over accounting, which is not my strong suit. Getting assistance when it comes to marketing and advertising, so that we could really focus on employment and restaurant operations.
Well, what is it like keeping the bakery itself separate from the work you do with the homeless?
I don't think I do keep it separate. I have my Dorothy Day House hat, and I have my Lucy J's hat, and sometimes I take one off to put the other one on, but we're just going back and forth between both organizations, to where it's really one big dream. It's something that we're working on as a whole. Keeping them separate isn't possible.
Can you go more in depth about your partnership with Dorothy Day House?
Sure. My husband and I have been involved, like we said, since 2012. At that time, we were simply volunteers, and we were bringing desserts for the Sunday night prayer. And then we ended up, I became employed there as the Director of Development in 2014. My husband joined the ministry team in 2016. So you see this snowball effect of us becoming more and more involved. And from then, we decided that the first organization we would partner with through the bakery was the house, just because we're invested in their success and they're invested in ours.
Well, Ms. Burgess, thank you so much for coming to talk with us today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Where homelessness continues to grow, there will always be organizations fighting for those who have found themselves in unfortunate situations. I want to thank all my guests for joining me today in this discussion. It has really opened my eyes to what happens here in my city and around the world. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Jamaia Chase. From all of us at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.